Hey everyone! You know, Kidder Music Service is one of the greatest assets to our school district. From providing day-to-day materials like reeds and valve oil to purchasing pieces of sound and instrumental equipment, there isn't anything they can't do. Kidder Music Service helps our students sound the best they can each and every day, and we are proud to call them a Music in the Making sponsor. If you are looking for similar materials for your school, don't hesitate to call and ask for assistance and mention us, Music in the Making, today. Their number is 309-692-4040, or visit kiddermusic.com, that's Kidder music.com today for all your music classroom needs. And now, on to the podcast. Welcome to Music in the Making.
That's illegal.
I want to be with you everywhere. A Halloween party. Oh, that's fun. Let's talk about work.
That's not what I said. Well, and I like Stanridge, so it's like I kind of.
Oh, you guys are friends?
Yeah,
I
talked to him. Yeah, we talked
to him last week.
A whole 5 minutes at Midwest last year. We are 3 high school and junior high music teachers from West Central Illinois.
And someone had to go to the bathroom during intermission and missed it. And that someone is me.
Yeah! Each week we will talk about our experiences in the classroom, community, and personal lives too. Please welcome your hosts, Lisa Hallen.
We say move all this stuff down there, and then it gets moved, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why have we moved that from there to there to there? Stop recording.
Art Martinez, happy Friday if it's not a Friday, or Saturday or Sunday, or if you're Lisa, it's a week later. And Kevin Ferry.
I don't know what you're talking about.
During class.
You have a horn for your cake topper?
Yes.
Oh, good lord.
I've actually gone.
Notice how we all said horn. You've taught us. Because I'm current on the phone.
Hey, she's made like 10
I
references.
feel like such a nerd that I know all of this information.
Our number one fan is here today. Just saying.
Golly, I don't have a shirt
you're
or
gonna have
anything,
some nasty. Are we recording? I had no idea. Usually I
You
can
know-
see.
What's your catchphrase? What do you use?
Dude, wedding spoilers.
You heard it here, folks. Wedding spoilers. Not all of it. I just caught like the tail end of that.
That's fine. Where was I? Oh, if we call her our number one fan, which she is, like we're gonna have some nasty.
Number one,
grams in
okay,
the
fine.
email.
Number one professional in the field fan. Number one
that's
fan
fair.
is a student.
I'm fine with that title.
Our number one fan that actually probably uses and utilizes our podcast as a way to like truly understand how things work.
Yeah, really, for me, as I was telling you before Lisa was here before we were recording, I'm in a department of 1. There's 1 instrumental teacher at our school.
Right.
And so I think when I listen to your podcast, I'm like, oh, right, everybody's struggling right now because we
Yeah.
have 5 performances in 1 week. And so it's just nice to hear about what my colleagues in the same county are doing and things similar. And like I'm considering like, maybe we should do a Music in the Parks field trip next year.
Yeah,
So like you've given me some good ideas to think about.
We were
Yeah.
talking about fundraisers and like,
I
we
am
need to do some
fundraiser
like
queen.
restaurant
Yeah.
ones, and I was like, well, I know
what I
who we
said.
could ask about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
I want a Culver's fundraiser, so I have an excuse to go.
We gotta need
Culver's.
to build a Culver's first in Monmouth. But just saying.
We-
Not saying that we don't need one, but I'm just saying we have to
I will
build a Culver's
travel
first.
to Galesburg. I have traveled to Galesburg for Culver's before.
Are they getting like a Qdoba or Chipotle or something? Isn't that what I saw?
Yes.
rumor has it.
Yeah, there was like a news article, and you can
And then
believe
Macomb
everything in the news.
is getting a TJ Maxx, which my wife is very excited about. Before I
And-
forget, welcome back to another episode of Music in the Making. We are back once again. We apologize for the delay in the last 2 episodes. We were literally in the middle, if you had listened, we were literally in the middle of our high school and senior trip last weekend, and which was a ton of fun. So if you haven't listened to that, please feel free to check those episodes out. That should be episode 30 and 31. Lisa's raising her hand. Yes,
I listened to it.
you did, because you
and it
texted
hasn't
me.
even been a week.
You texted me. We offended 49 states. So.
That made me laugh.
Which
a lot.
was pretty hilarious. It's pretty accurate. So, so today's episode, we have our wonderful guest, our director friend right up the road, in a sense, and also district president number 2 extraordinaire, Madeline Wood. Welcome, Madeline. How are you today?
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. Honestly, I'm trying to remember when I emailed you, like in March or February, and you're like, "I'm free April," and I'm like, "Yeah, that seems pretty accurate." And I'm like, and then you emailed me like, "We're still doing this, right?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's on my calendar. We're still doing this." So amazing that we still we were able to just. I mean, we were just on a few seconds ago too, before the intro started. I am. What was March? What was April? I don't even remember because it just didn't exist. Now we're in May.
It's hard to explain it to non-music teacher people because they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so busy." I'm like, "But it's all good."
Yeah.
I love every single event, every single fundraiser we've done. It's just so much all at the same time, always.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I will sometimes I don't know, for lack of a better term, fantasize. If I taught a different core subject, because there was a time where I almost was a history teacher. Ooh. Not so much science, definitely a history teacher because I like social studies and stuff, but. There was a time where I thought that, if I taught that, would I get bored with my content? Because it's literally nothing's different about it.
Yes.
If I teach about the Civil War, there's only the same amount of facts I can give them. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do it differently. Where music.
65 end date.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. This happened only within this time frame. It didn't end. It didn't restart or anything. It's where music is if I rehearse a section, I can hear the progress or not hear the progress, and I can pick at that stuff all the time. I think music just makes it go faster in so many ways.
I've been thinking about that with our curriculum mapping. So I'm like, they want you to be able to just walk into work and know exactly what you're doing, and that is not how this works.
Yeah.
We've had a single year where we have the same exact performances, where we have the same amount of time before performances. It's just wild that some subjects you can just
are like
do
that. I mean, I guess for them it's very I'm on pace to hit these things, right?
Yeah.
Where it's us, it's and I tell the kids, it's we have our deadlines and the concert's not going to change.
Yeah. 7 snow
I don't
days,
care. I don't care.
Exactly.
I don't care. You didn't practice for 3 weeks. Concert's still gonna be on the same day, so you better hurry up. You have a week.
I've been thinking about this a lot because with you have a different amount of time with your beginners than used to. You had a schedule change, and next year I'm really excited. I'm teaching more general music classes, so I have all the 5th graders as well as some 6th grade. But I just can't imagine curriculum mapping because it seems I've had a slightly different schedule almost every other year, and it's been good. But I've had to throw away the curriculum because we start beginners later and I teach them now. And so I just meet the needs of the students that are in the classroom that year, that time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I think with general music too, it's it's so open, which is awesome, but sometimes it's gotta be kind of what do I teach them? What would I teach them? What do you take advantage of that either they would be interested in and or what would be important going into the next year? Yes, Ms. Allen.
Well, now she's piqued my interest, and I want to know if she is currently teaching general music. But can we just go over your job?
Yeah, I would love to talk about that.
Who you are, what you do.
So my name's Madeline Wood, and I am in my 13th year teaching music at United. And I started there teaching 6 through 12 band. And we had 15 people in the high school band, and it's dramatically changed. I now teach 6th grade and 7th grade music appreciation, and that's by choice. It wasn't dumped on me. I love teaching every single student in the school. So 7th grade music appreciation right now is ukulele and bucket drumming, and I love it. So next year, we're going to a 7-12 model for our high school. And then our junior high will be an intermediate school, grades 4 through 6.
Ooh,
so
nice.
that's why I get to teach still my beginners in 6th grade. But then
intermediate, yeah.
Which is different than junior high, as we learned in last week's episode. I am current on Music in the Making, so I feel like a super fan. But I'm really excited to teach everybody in the school, and I think I'm just going to do similar things, but no Chromebooks. I don't want to grade any journals. It doesn't, I think, have to be quite like that. So some things I'm looking forward to. I've been observing area elementary teachers because I haven't taught elementary music in 13 years. One, there's no attendance every class period. That's not my gift. I'm not amazing at remembering to take attendance if
same.
it's 5th and 6th hour.
Yeah.
And then also, our elementary schools use standards-based grading. And for things like general music, that makes so much more sense than assigning an A or a B. It's like, can they do the skill? Have they shown it?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that, but things I don't know about. So I'm really looking forward to diving in this summer and filling in some educational deficits of mine.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's awesome.
I was saying, but that's pretty cool. I definitely thought about too, because Kat and I talk all the time. Shout out my wife, Kat.
Shout out.
Dr. Mrs. Martinez. Because I always like the ideas that she comes up with for her kids, and it's so crazy because I feel like those kids are getting such a good education, like some of the topics and things that she talks about. And but it's so funny because it's like they're just so young that they don't recognize that they're getting a really good experience, right?
Yeah.
So, but I just like if I were able to teach those kids like that kind of stuff, I would have a field day with all the fun, air quotes, things that you could possibly do with them. So, but band is good too.
Can I name drop so we can yell shout out?
Absolutely.
So I want to shout out to Abby Hicks, Mrs. Hicks at Rockridge.
Shout out.
She was so welcoming to me. She just opened her doors and was like, come observe me, asked me a ton of questions, and she is the real deal. She is such a great elementary music teacher. So I hope to see Dr. Mrs. Martinez as well.
Shout
we
out.
just have to open our schedules.
She is currently in Indianapolis getting ready for a half marathon tomorrow. So
Wow.
Go her.
She took a personal day today to get out there, and she's been training for a long time, so good for her. Very
I
happy.
love Indianapolis. That's so fun.
Yeah, well, it's funny because she had a long time childhood friend invite her out there, and then that friend broke her ankle or something like that 2 weeks ago. So she's like, do I still do it? I'm like, yeah, just still do it. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Just go for it. So her parents are out there, and because I have the junior high trip tomorrow, I'm not going. So whatever. I mean, I guess I could have made Ty go, but it would have been a good experience for him.
It would have been.
So I have a student teacher now, and he's friends with
Yes.
your student teacher.
Yeah.
But oftentimes we'll joke, I'm like, oh, does this fall under the category of student teacher hazing? And he's like, maybe.
It's called real life experience. There's no such thing as hazing for student teachers.
Yeah, and I told mine, and I tell all of them, there's nothing that you're gonna do that I wouldn't be doing myself if you weren't here.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, you glue your fingers together too? I'm like, absolutely. Fixing those instruments, it is guess and check every time.
Yeah. I try to, as soon as after my student teaching experience, which was great. Shout out Matt Doherty.
Shout out.
At Lamont, who's actually now going to be the principal starting next
Whoa.
year. So yeah, good for him. That was really great for him because he was very baptism by fire a little bit, which I know some people were like, oh my gosh, how could he do that? But it's like, I mean, he would give me enough time to make a lesson, but it's like this. But to make it short, this is the subject you're teaching. Make sure it gets done, and you'll have to have it by this day of the week. And we were on block schedules, so that was pretty crazy. Yes, Madeline.
You've mentioned on the pod that you were an hour or 5 days, if there's traffic, away from Gurney. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Homer Glen, Illinois.
Oh.
So I went to Lockport Township High School.
My college roommate went to Lockport, and she's a musician. Do you know Maggie Kavanaugh?
Yes. Yes. Why do I know that name?
She plays percussion, loves cymbals, has a marimba at home.
Okay, that sounds too familiar.
And she has a younger brother who might be your age, Joe Kavanaugh. He played the saxophone.
Yeah. Wait. I think I know
Super
Joe.
small world.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That's
Whoa,
awesome.
that's
I love
awesome.
that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I'm almost positive that. I mean, I can't. I'm drawing a blank on the face, but that name. Whoa, that was kind of crazy. Nostalgia type. Yeah. So I graduated in 2012.
Okay.
So, but anyway, so I grew up in Homer Glen, and then Lockport is where I went to high school. So then it's only about an hour or so north of there. It's kind of crazy how an hour around Chicago is not so long, but then going into Chicago and going through it is 2 hours. It's the same distance.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so Lamont is north of Lockport by 20 minutes. So, and I was living at home still. It was only a 25-minute drive from my parents' house to my student teaching, and that was in one direction. Then the next 8 weeks, I went to Palos South, and with oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Bill. Oh no. No.
Shout out Bill Prum.
Shout out Bill from Florida.
Let's name all of the Bill band teachers we know. Ooh, Bill rank. Bill.
Shout out.
Yeah.
I don't think I know a lot of
Pause. I think I still have his phone number in here. Hanson, there we go. Bill Hanson. Shout out Bill Hanson. He was like literally like a year or two from retirement too, so he lot of experience. And he had an interesting story because he was like, he went to school for percussion performance and went to like DePaul and all this crazy stuff. And then he went into the military, and then he was like, did like all this military Air Force stuff. And then he came back, and then he's like, I want to do percussion still stuff, but then I don't want to teach. And then like he got the GI Bill thing, and then he taught. And next thing you know, he's like 50 or 60, and so he's about to retire. So it's like, wild story. But the guy was an amazing percussionist, a really, really good teacher. The kids loved him, and he was like 6 foot something, so he was massively tall compared to junior high children. So really good time. But even he was kind of like, hey, you're doing this, so just, and I think there's so much to that, where it's like, when you get into this job for your first time, there really isn't too much hand-holding. It's like, you just got to use what you know and use that to the best of your ability to teach your kids. Like,
especially if you're the only
right,
teacher.
yeah, I know. I think it's just an amazing thing that, like, where we are, we're thankful to have this many people, but like, I couldn't imagine Kyle doing all this by himself.
Yeah. Shout out Kyle.
Shout out Kyle Barshing or Galesburg. I don't know how he did it.
The best neighbor.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how he did 512 by himself. I don't know how Joy even did any of that before, like, the consolidation. Like, it's just incredible that this job, specifically where we are, is just so busy. And yeah, I mean, for you to have your own program to be doing that, and then them to be asking more of you,
and I think
in a way.
Part of it is, like, when you have student success, you want more of that. So you want to give them more opportunities. And so when I started, and it was 6 through 12, I didn't teach music appreciation. Like, I thought that was a hard job because it was my first one. And now we're planning our very first trip to Disney.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited. They practiced really hard, and we were accepted to perform there. And so just figuring out all of that.
Very good.
Is awesome, but thinking, like, I used to think that this job was hard 13 years ago. The students have just been amazing and have had so many different interests. And so, like, we rekindled our jazz band, and we do, I think, 10 honor bands a year, and just all of the different opportunities I love, but like, at some point, I think I'm going to max out. And next semester is my first one without a student teacher in a while. And I have been so incredibly lucky. I've had 5, and they've all been all-stars.
Nice.
And so I
shout out to all those 5.
Yes.
You don't have to
some
name
of
them, don't
which
worry.
maybe listen now, but they're great people and amazing educators, and I love having them as colleagues. But, like, how am I going to do this next semester? Because we've been able to
tag team.
So like what y'all have here, and I love it.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm worried.
and I know it seems like somewhat of a luxury, but it's honestly like Lisa and I share one class, and then we're separate the rest of the day, even in the same building. And then from there, we go to different buildings. Like, I'm at myself with the junior high. Like, she has Emily, shout out.
Shout out. With the cutest dog.
Oh, absolutely. But even Emily is kind of just like, she's just there to assist. Like, Lisa's in charge of the band stuff,
We're only together for 2 bands.
Yeah.
Like, we're both in the same room, but then I go to the cafeteria to actually teach.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, for having as much, to be able to get what we are getting done, and yet still be separate in a lot of ways, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my question for Lisa as a beginning band teacher, and I've only been teaching beginning band, this is only my 3rd time through. We just did recruiting last night, and I think it's my favorite.
Yeah, I know,
it's
because
like
I wanted
Christmas.
last night, and they were like, oh, Madeline already has that. And
Sorry.
I was like, oh, no, it's fine. But we did ours on Tuesday.
Thank you, Kidder. Shout out to Kidder for supporting both of us. Coming out twice.
It is my fault, because our wonderful road rep Blake probably texted me 6 times, like, what day do you want that? What day do you want that? What day do you want that? And then I said yesterday, and he was like, no. But if I had responded the first time, I might have had that day.
And I'm glad you didn't respond the first day, because we're reconfiguring our district. We had kind of like a welcome night for parents last night. Parents parents and guardians. And so like everybody was there. And so we actually signed up 35 students.
Whoa.
And that's without me like going through and emailing the people at baseball games. So our goal is 50.
Like 35 through Kidder?
I'm not sure how many they rented, but I signed up 35 for band.
To be in the class.
That's a lot.
And it's just a really nerdy thing because I've been seeing a lot of like sports signings. So I did a band signing and each kid got a certificate. And I'm like, you're in the very first ever United Intermediate Band. And they were excited and I was excited.
That's awesome.
I don't think I slept. I was just so happy about all this. But like my goal is always more than last year because in my opinion, I would rather have everybody join band for a year and then have some decide maybe it's not for them than to have anybody like, oh, I wish I would have. So I think everyone should do band for at least a year and then decide from that. But we have 43 this year. How am I going to have 50 kids open up their cases on day one? Like we do our super lesson, but just not having another adult, another set of hands, another musical human in the room. Like, how do you do that?
I have them for lessons, and we don't take out the instruments in full band for a couple months until I trust them to not break bridge keys.
Yeah.
That's why.
True.
Yeah, maybe months is a little extreme. We start in like the beginning of September, and our first concert is at the end of October. So I probably at like the beginning of October will actually start playing. But in those full band times, we'll still meet, but we'll just do a lot of rhythm things and like note reading, review, and watch videos of instruments and fun. And we're only playing in lessons because I have the luxury of having them for like small group lessons too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
There's so
honestly,
much to think about.
I would say, honestly, you could spend a whole week on just procedural, like getting the mouthpiece out.
But that's not fun, Mr.
Yeah, I know.
Martinez.
I know. And trust me, like when I was doing beginning band at Macomb, I hated it. I was like, oh, can't we just move? I hated it. I'm like, oh, but honestly, there's like something to be told about like the incentive of like we get to put the instrument together at the end of the week.
Yeah.
You know, like we get to play a note next Monday. You know, like it's like they want to play, but they have to just understand the patience also. But like the reason is like the work that you're putting in is like putting it together correctly, opening the case correctly, you know, making sure that the Yamaha is on the top and it was on the top.
Always
it's
on
up
the floor. So
yes,
we
yeah,
can't
just like
roll.
honestly, like all of these good habits, like if we can just and you could do it, find a fun way of doing it. Like who's the best? Like who's like the model person that could do it? Like who wants to demonstrate how to do it? Like just things like that. That the kids are watching each other do it, and you're watching them do it too. They could even like self-correct. Okay, everything was perfect except one thing. Who saw it? You know, like there's just a lot of ways to do it, and yeah, I just trying to make it fun. But honestly, the fundamentals of just like making sure that nothing gets broken. Clarinets for sure. Oh
Speaking of fun, this is not super related, but after listening to this podcast and hearing about Scary Had a Little Lamb, and then getting to hear it live, it was just like I was meeting a celebrity.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
scary, but it was such a cute piece, and your kids really sold it well, so I was really happy that I got to hear that performance.
They did really well.
Carol Britton Chambers is growing on me.
Oh, we Zoom chatted with her.
Oh, did you?
We
I
just
saw
performed
that.
one of her pieces, and she is such a genuinely awesome human and composer. And get this, she will pump out a composition every 2 weeks. Because we're like, how long does it take to write like a Night Fury or a Down on the Delta? We just did Sun Chaser. And she's like, well, 2 weeks. I'm pretty diligent about my writing. I'm just like, 2 weeks? It takes me 2 weeks to fill out a purchase order.
Yeah.
Like, how does she do that?
Shout out Carol Britton Chambers, efficient writing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I mean, I wish I could.
awesome.
I wish I had the attention span to be able to write my pieces that long.
Right.
But also, you probably are a 60-hour-a-week music educator.
Yeah, and
and
that's-
then a composer.
Right, exactly. Oh yeah, no, I mean, like it's funny because I always think about that. Like, if I went full time, would I even have like the diligence to do that? Like, as a state, like this job keeps me like just going all the time. That if I worked like this as a composer, like would I actually be able to pump out a piece every 2 weeks? It's crazy. But so no, my compositions take time because I don't have any. They're well thought out because I don't have time to think about them.
Oh, speaking of not having time, when you brought up that Mrs. Martinez
Shout out.
is running a half marathon,
Yeah.
I love talking about music educators' non-musical hobbies. So she trains for marathons, apparently. What are your non-musical hobbies?
I'm very bad at golf.
I golf. We should golf.
Oh, Kevin and I try to go at the club because the Mama Country Club.
Fancy.
You know, yeah, it's just a golf club. It's just 9 holes at the bar. That's basically all it is. Shout out, Mom.
Yeah. What are you? They
Sponsor
might
us.
Well, I work at the municipal golf course in Galesburg, so I'm a
very
big
good.
fan of bunker links.
Very good. Yeah, I would say I haven't golfed around too much because I just started like last year, and I've never golfed in my life. Like I think the last time I held a golf club was like before last year was maybe like in high school. Like I've never even been. So golfing was just something it's just like exercise / it just gets me outside. Play a good video game here and there with one of my college buddies. Shout out Zach.
Shout out Zach.
And gosh, I don't know. Like I think just those are my non-music ones. If anything, I'll just like honestly just sit outside, have a cold pop, and just enjoy listening to just other music and whatnot, other podcasts and things, and my dogs keep me entertained too, and 2 cats.
What
3
about you,
cats.
Miss Helen? Besides wedding planning, that's probably a
Yeah, that's her
consuming
latest.
hobby right
That's her
now.
latest hobby. Life consuming.
The pursuit of finding that my like adult hobbies is interesting. I feel like all my adult hobbies is like every once in a while doing things that were like my hobbies. Like I like playing tennis, but like when I say that, it's not like I'm playing it twice a week. It's like once every 2 months. Me and Mr. Fornoff are like, let's go play tennis. But like, so I don't feel like I can call that a hobby because I don't do it, but I enjoy it when I do it. I like going to Zumba at the Y because I was a dancer when I was younger, and that's a little dance opportunity. I did a tap class in Galesburg because they have like an adult tap class. I did that like 2 years ago, but it was just hard giving up a night to getting to Galesburg.
Reoccurring
once a week.
commitments as a band teacher are really challenging.
They were really great because they were like, you just, if you show up, you pay, like, because they get it because it's an adult thing. But then it didn't work for this year. So stuff like that. But I really like listening to podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of audiobooks. I discovered I like audiobooks now. It's been life-changing. I've been listening to a lot of like celebrity memoirs and like biographies, and just makes me appreciate how normal and my life is, and like how all these people we like watch on the screen, like all the messed up things they're going through,
Yeah,
and
for
it's
real.
like, dang, that's wild. That's kind of been a lot of that. I didn't think I would like audiobooks, and then I just like tried it, and I was like, oh, okay.
I didn't think I would like podcasts because I love listening to music, and then I found a couple I liked, and then I'm always searching for new ones, and I'm so disappointed when I'm current. So like, thank you for putting out 2 more this week. That was a gift. But other ones I like, Kate Nishimura's podcast, even though it's about music, she talks about nature so much, and I just love hearing about like why she wrote a piece and who she collaborated with. So it's not like technical music stuff. And then I love the podcast Chasing Scratch. It's about golfers trying to get to zero.
Nice.
And just like all of the things that go wrong because like they have jobs and lives and aren't awesome at golf in the beginning.
What does any of those words mean?
Scratch
Zero?
golfing.
How do you get to
So
zero?
zero
Like-
handicap. So that means you're like shooting par at a golf course.
Okay.
And our phrase that we use all the time, like par for the course. Par's actually really hard
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
So they're trying, and spoiler, it's their 7th season and they're not there yet. But I love listening to these guys, so I listen to that as
fun.
well as music in the making.
Yeah.
My rotation.
Shout out us. Shout out us. Yeah.
Those
I had a
guys.
negative 24 last year because I'm brand new, and it's probably gonna go down to like, because like I had a couple good games last year. I
Does
actually
it go the whole season?
it's like May to like September or something like that is men's league. So it's like every week you have to do 9 holes. It technically started Wednesday, but where were we? Titans
Next
Wrestling.
one's fine.
Yeah, I know. Kevin and I were kind of like, really? Anyway, but like you have to do 9 holes every week, and then like you have to submit your score. And last year, because I was like brand new and I was horrible, probably still am, but I was like a negative 24. So anytime you have like the handicap, it's supposed to help you keep up with people who are better. So like if I have if I do 9 holes, but I took like 100 shots when it should have been 90. This supposed to be 90, right? Or it can be like 90 depending on the course,
When people
I guess.
start talking about handicaps, it's like when people start talking about 401ks or the stock market. I just go like totally
It didn't make
check
sense
out.
to me. It's still, to me, it's like, it doesn't make sense because it's like, how can I be horrible and yet it's supposed to help me keep up with someone who's a pro? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So basically, like, if I have a negative 24 and someone is a 0, if I take technically 24 more shots than a person who has 0, that negative 24 is taken away, and then we're both equal. Because it's supposed to keep us equal. It doesn't make sense to me, honestly. But I take it, and when I win a week, which I did last year, I'm going to take it. So, I'm going to take it.
I golf because I like to be out in nature, and last year, almost every weekday morning, I would get up at dawn, and then we would walk the first 9. So some like retired teachers, and every once in a while, with Kyle Barshinger, shout out. We would go golfing, and so the golf course wasn't even open, so we'd walk the front 9, and then when it would open, like then we'd all get carts. And I met some of like the greatest people. I golf with a retired driver's ed teacher from Galesburg, and he just talks about like the good old days and all the scary times he had. As a driver's ed teacher.
Oh, sure.
And it's just so fun meeting people out there and enjoying nature. And I get to golf for free because I work there.
Yeah.
But I think it's just my favorite
Kyle's
place.
a good golfer. He really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we'll play with Rusty and Sam sometimes.
Shout out.
Shout out Sam and Rusty from Mirko.
Yeah, our listeners know them.
Oh yeah,
So we
that's right.
have
They're
them
they're
on.
part celebrities.
Yeah.
If you don't know who they are, you should go find our ILMEA episode from.
He said
Can
ILMEA.
Can I
Allstate.
file a grievance?
But I hate saying ILMEA.
Whenever you don't say L, I want you to put $1 in the swear jar.
I'm so used to being IMEA because back in my day it was IMEA.
You're not that old.
I know.
It's been ILMEA for at least 7, maybe 9 years.
I know.
So almost your whole career as an educator, yeah?
Basically, I
Okay.
still can't get past it. I still say
I
IMEA.
believe in you. I'm
Yeah.
not going to give up hope.
I'm say IMEA.
He did it
Still
here
IMEA.
though. He did it right now.
Yeah, I was say I can't. I don't, and I don't even know why all of a sudden the change. Like, what was the big deal? Like it was.
It was confusing with other states that have Idaho, Indiana, Iowa.
Idaho. Okay,
No
sorry. I
offensive
offended
state
Idaho again by calling it IMEA. I mean, like, yeah, I got it, but I was still like, why now? Like, who has the beef this year that we're just changing it? So,
Not Mercer County. Oh, awkward. Warren County prime beef. We have the beef here.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Have
we
you
have
ever
beef.
seen any prime beef at the Prime Beef
No.
Festival? I haven't
No.
either. And when I moved here, because I'm not from this area, I love this area though. Like I choose to stay here. I was just like looking for the meat and like Hog Days Parade in Kewanee
Yep.
and Prime
Oink.
Beef Festival here. Like
There was
I've
a
never
bacon
seen.
fest once upon a time.
Oh, really?
I think it was like 1 year because I talk about it like.
If
'cause
there's no
I thought-
parade, I don't know.
I thought it'd be an every year thing, and then it just went away. And I'm telling my friend who moved here about Bacon Fest, and she's like, "I'm starting to think you just made this up." And I'm like, "No, I got photos of me with my head like in
No,
a
it's
cutout
real.
of a piece of bacon."
Yeah.
It was a thing once upon a time.
Hey, you've been influential in the town of Monmouth. You always say that there wasn't any coffee shops, and then 10 show up.
Thank you.
They
you.
are so lucky I didn't know that there weren't, because might have a different band director. I might have been like, oh no, I found another job somewhere that believes
Actually
in
has coffee.
So with my student teachers, we always figure out something that they will think is fun for Fridays, just to look forward to it. So my last student teacher, not a coffee drinker, so we got donuts every Friday. And his
Yeah.
last name was Sprinkle, so it was really fun.
Oh, nice.
And so with this one, we do Dame Fine Fridays. And so thank you, Monmouth, for having coffee establishments. It's just another perk.
Shout out Dame Fine.
Shout out Dame Fine. So wait, are they having so wait, what are they doing with their car wash? Like you just like drive up and you have
The storage is completely separate.
Oh,
so they're
storage.
also doing
Oh.
storage, but the building that looks like
car
a
wash.
bigger Dame Fine.
Oh.
No, those are the storage.
Oh. I
But the
thought it was
building
gonna
that
be
looks like
oh,
a
okay.
little scooters or
Yeah.
like that's gonna be the coffee.
Ah, okay. So
I don't
they
know
got
what's
that
happening
little
with the old one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're probably moving it to another city.
Yeah. Good for them.
Why did you move to Monmouth? I know you. Yeah,
for the job at
United.
United. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was teaching pre-K through 8th grade general music and choir. Because I graduated college in December, and then I had like a 2-week pity party where I knew I was never going to get a job, and I was sitting in my apartment in Chicago, and then I got a call and I got a job. So I probably should have not just watched like every season of Law and Order. But I had a great experience. I really learned how to teach students, and I learned about teaching choir and general music, and I loved it. But then that school closed due to low enrollment, and so I was seeking a job, and United was open, and I applied, and I was hired, and 13 years later, I still love it.
That's
also
crazy.
really grateful every day to teach band. I appreciated my time teaching general music and choir, but I know that band is my true love.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I always was gung-ho about the whole, like, I'm going to be a high school band director, all this stuff. And then when I landed the job at Macomb, I mean, it was like, wow, I'm like, I couldn't imagine running a high school program. Like, junior high has its challenges, and honestly, I'm very thankful for being there for the 5 years I was, because, like, it taught me like so much more that I had to learn in general as being a teacher, but also like if you can like just really work at your craft of like being as organized as possible, you know, being like on top of students of stuff as far as like in the rehearsal space, you know, like that applies to every level that you do. Like it's just a matter of the pace that changes, you know, like I always have to remind myself that, like, you know, my expectations can be the same for junior high, high school, beginner, doesn't matter. But the pace has to be different because you can't be giving a fast pace like high school to a junior high. I mean, you can try, but they're just going to be like, what? And confused. Where it's like if you take the fast pacedness and maybe break it up into 2 or 3 parts, that's a whole week of just you working with them and the expectations stay the same.
It's interesting you say that because when I teach junior high, I feel like my lesson is faster paced because I want to keep their attention and like don't want to lose them that way.
And I guess by faster paced, I mean like you can get them more material. I think the material for junior high is never as much as high school, but the pace feels faster even though you're kind of just rehearsing the same part over and over again. But to them, it's like, oh, like we're moving faster.
Yeah, like in my high school band, it's 8 a.m., which is a hard time to have rehearsal,
I mean,
especially when some of my students work really late and they're all sleepy. And so we did a think, pair, share just to get them talking. And I'm like, okay, so here's the situation. I found a snake in my bathroom. 1, how did it get there? And 2, what should I do? Go. And so then like the chatter started and the things they came up with were great. But I would not have done that with my 7th and 8th grade band that meets right before lunch. They would have just been totally gone. So I try to have less downtime with that group. But as you said, like the literature is not quite as intense. It's still musically sound.
Yeah.
But also, how did the snake get there? I live in town. There's 7 steps to get up to my house. I'm horrified.
Some of my best junior high rehearsals, I'm like sweating by the time I'm done. And if that's how I know it's a good rehearsal, because if I'm sweating, that means that they were doing a lot. But then I'm sure some people will be like, you shouldn't be sweating. But it's like, honestly, like if you're not as intense as you should be for junior high, like, especially at the end of the day, like, end of the day is rough. Like looking at the clock is like, ooh, like that's rough.
Before you go too much farther on that, I want to give a shout out United School District.
Shout out United.
I love United. So when I started, the junior high didn't have air conditioning, and we would get so sweaty the kids would drop their instruments.
Oh my
It was awful. And so we have central air now. It is amazing. I'm so grateful. We drop our instruments just because we're clumsy now, not because we're so sweaty.
Growing into our bodies.
Yeah.
I was talking about just like the adults too. So. Who shattered an alto saxophone mouthpiece this week? Ms. Wood did.
Oh.
There's something in the air. I had 2 saxophones break mouthpieces last week. Wild. Like I feel, and last
Hopefully
year.
in thirds. It just so now we're done.
Yeah,
we got
we're
that
done.
out of the way.
We're still waiting for our third.
Oh my gosh, that was
coincidence.
crazy. So wait, what was the first one this morning? It was. Oh, we were talking about.
We can't talk
Well,
about
I'm
that.
not gonna say
Can we
details.
please keep the school appropriate?
Yeah, yeah, Lisa. Gosh, keep school appropriate. We were discussing about a student, and we're like, you know, like we just want them to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and blah blah blah. And next thing you know, like the student comes in, and we're like, oh, okay, whatever.
Like doing what they're supposed to be
yeah,
doing.
like, oh, like,
everything was fine.
great. Like,
So
oh,
you spoke it into the universe.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it happened.
fixed, yeah.
And then, and then I'm teaching percussion, and then I'm like, I need to go check this drum out over here. I need to see what the brand of drum is, and I do one of these things where I slowly turn it off the shelf because it's like a decommissioned snare drum, and I hear and feel something hit my foot.
A pause. This is at like 9:10 a.m. Keep that in mind.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. 9:10. I pull that out and I hits my foot. I look down. It's our toy horn.
Monmouth Roseville.
No.
Yeah.
Way.
And I'm like, what the heck? I'm thinking like it was yours. I'm like, wait, why was this in here? I thought you took it already.
Okay,
Pause.
we need to pause for the listeners at home.
For the list, Madeline student teacher, Mr. Kelly,
Shout
came
out.
at 9 a.m. and took United's toy horn. 10 minutes later, this happened.
Yeah.
So one of the things I love about our schools being so close is we borrow stuff all the time. So
Yeah,
you needed
it's nice.
a toy horn, you send me a text, it gets delivered the next day. I needed to borrow some concert toms, same thing. And so I'm just really grateful for that. But how funny that you find
Crazy.
yours.
And then apparently the story goes is that one of the students in percussion was like,
We can shout him out.
oh yeah, Matthew Blackford. Shout
out.
out Matthew Blackford. He goes, wait, was that the toy horn? And I was like, yeah, like apparently it's ours. And he's like, I'm pretty sure Kendall was messing with that when I was a freshman, and I got so annoyed that I hit it, and I forgot it was under there. And I'm like, it's been in there for like 3 years. And I'm like, at least we have it. I'm like, is there anything else under there? $1 million under there that you stashed
Yeah, right.
away?
So if I was a smaller person, I would demand you to produce that horn so I could throw it across the room. Like
Yeah,
you're
I
flying
know.
Across the room, but this
And
is
of course-
not getting even.
Of course, he's at a track meet right now. Shout out Kevin
Mr.
Ferry. Oh my gosh, so crazy.
But like, if there is an instrument to throw, like that's an okay-ish one.
I mean,
so, no
the
hard feelings.
the
Mr.
retaliation that Lisa had to stick up for you and your toy horn was pretty great.
I
'Cause
really
she definitely
appreciate
hit
that solidarity.
because she,
from you and
she
Sally.
definitely hit the chicken in the wrong spot. Because you definitely used the hard plastic part.
I was so overwhelmed with frustration for her poor toy horn,
That you're
and the fact that he threw something that we are borrowing something that I just.
Time out. At any point in your college career, would you have ever thought that your life would spend so many brain cells thinking about a toy horn?
No,
Not
I
mine
did
either.
not.
oh my gosh.
Like, no, I thought bassoons and oboes. No, toy horns. I'm like, where's this toy horn? How am I getting it from point A to point B?
Right.
When does it need to be back? I forgot that I told you could get back. Thank you for emailing me and being like, hey, I need this in 2 days. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, and that was for ILMEA's
ILMEA,
very first 5th, 6th honor band.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
That's
it
awesome.
was so fun. So I hope more people do it next year. We had about 85 beginning band musicians, and like the literature was just so well curated for that group. And we had Mr. Tony Hernandez,
Shout out
who
from
was just
Jesse.
wacky and so musical and got the best out of our students all day. So
I
loved
observed
it.
him a couple times.
I need to go.
Yes, you
Continue.
do.
It's been
Nice
so
to see you
nice.
in real life.
I
Thank you,
will-
Miss Helen.
Bye,
I can't
Lisa.
wait to listen to the second half of this episode.
We're only
Yes.
halfway done.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I've talked to an
No.
adult for this long, like consecutively.
No, it's
You're
all right. I would say we can definitely wrap it up fairly soon. But yeah, no, Tony was great. I observed him a couple times at Geneseo, and I mean honestly, he is like somewhat quintessential junior high guy. Like he just has that energy about him that that like the way he can connect to those that age group too. I think that's so
I agree,
fun.
because nothing's worse when you bring like junior high, or in this case 5th and 6th grade students, to an honor band, and like you have maybe a college person who just has lofty expectations of what a junior high kid should sound like, or
Yeah.
like they don't understand like brass embouchure endurance is very limited.
Oh, yeah.
But he was just super well prepared and had a great attitude the whole time.
Yeah, that's
It was
awesome.
an awesome day.
I was like, yeah, no, I actually had a conversation with Ty, shout out, earlier today about, like when I'm writing music, like I take the Randall Standards approach and be like, pedagogically, like, it's a combination of catchy title, fun music, but like, don't write stuff that's not really the instrument's going to be successful with, and the advice I was given when, trying to take my composition seriously was like, no one's writing for young bands. They're just kind of like writing what they want, which a composer has that right. But honestly, like, it's amazing to hear from these professionals in these like music distributor fields and other composers. They're like, people aren't writing enough for beginning band, because it's like they think it's too easy, or they think it's like not music, but when it's like this is the stuff that gets them to that level that you want. Like if you want them to play your music, then you should need to write stuff that gets them there. You know, I think pedagogically that's what's most important. So,
and I've been doing this for 13 years, and part of it was in the beginning I was so green and I didn't know where to look for good beginning band repertoire. But I'm so grateful for the Randall D. Standridges and Carol Britton Chambers, Brian Balmages. All these people have amazing music that is accessible for my students. I just bought, do you know the piece, Too Much Percussion? I have 16 percussionists this year in junior high band, and I love it. I love it. And I'm really glad they're there, but just making sure that they have enough so it's a musically sound experience for them as well, not just like those are some people in the back of the room. Right. And I'm really grateful that Randall Standridge writes great percussion parts.
He does, and I think it's like I always not to compare as far as like one is better than the other, but I always like the what's the word? Like maybe like craftiness, but like the imagination that like John Mackey does with his stuff. But Randall does it in an educational sense.
I don't know about you, but my junior high bands are not playing John
Mackey
pieces.
No. And I mean, like when I listen to a John Mackey piece, it's always like something creative and exciting, and like the title always seems to go right. But then Randall takes, I feel like, whether he's taking a cue or not, but I feel like he always takes that kind of mentality. But when you add that extra element of education, pedagogy, like keeping people's attention, like it takes it to a whole nother level, and it also like it sets up the band better because they're in a and less of like we're just kind of doing this to do it, more like we're actually learning something and having fun at the same time. These are the cues I'm trying to take when I eventually have time to write my own music again. That like I want my music to be played because it's helping them, not just to be played. Like that's not a bash on any composers at all. Like like if you are passionate about music, like you need to express yourself however you need to. However, if you are a composer, consider trying to write for young band and orchestra, because there's never enough of that, apparently.
Hearing you talk about your own compositions, wouldn't it be cool if we maybe did a combined piece, like our school, your school, and maybe one of your compositions? That would be awesome.
Yeah, I would be down for that if you'd be down for that. You can let me know what you'd want and what your students want. I mean, there's pieces that have two choirs. Why not a piece that involves two bands? I'm down for it.
We'll come here, though, because I'm looking out at your auditorium, and I am just so grateful you have it, and very much wishing we did.
Yeah, the auditorium's nice, but our gym is nicer because it fits more of us. But I'm always down for collaborating. I'm trying to get the kids. My big thing with teaching is experiences. If the kids aren't having not necessarily just exclusively unique, but just like an experience that they probably wouldn't have gotten before. I'm all about that. And that was one thing that, it's funny because Kevin's mentioned on the podcast too before, and to other people as well. Like, in my interviews, like I for this job, I said like I'm all for experiences because it not only keeps the kids in, but for students, I think around here, it impacts their lives even more. They can look back on it as a positive experience or a crazy one, I don't know. But like they can look back on it as like, if I ever have kids, like I want them to be doing band or choir because I had this awesome Six Flags experience. I had, I went to a WIU football game and it was the best day of my life. I try not. It doesn't have to be extravagant as far as like we don't have to be going to Memphis, Tennessee to do a trip. But like,
although with Guardians, shout out, it sounds like it could be awesome.
It's absolutely. I mean, and Guardian does it well for sure. Shout out tour guide Mike and Matt, CEO.
Yeah, but what you were saying, I totally agree. Like if you asked me why I was a music teacher, one of my favorite things is facilitating memories and helping students and their families make amazing memories. Like I had 3 students who went with the Illinois Band Ambassadors to Europe. And that's something that they probably wouldn't have done otherwise. And they did it because of music.
Right.
Or even just like the day-to-day silliness. Like I'm not sure if that kind of thing happens in other classes. And so I'm happy to facilitate things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we as like music people, we know like the neural connections and stuff that like music touches our brains, our souls, or like our being. So like when we have that piece of music or musical moment that like sticks with us, it sticks with us. It doesn't go away, right? And to take it to the next level of having maybe that piece of music that we really love, and now putting it somewhere else that they maybe never would have gone to before, Gurney, Six Flags, like it adds another level of experience of like, I love this piece, and not only do I love this piece in this performance, we got to do it again, the next week, or like we got to do it at this location now. So now it's like two memories associated with that piece. So every time they hear it, they now hear the original performance and then the secondary performance,
And taking that a step further, like as a musician, and then now as a teacher, and now as somebody who is collaborating with pre-service music teachers, like our student teachers. So today in jazz band, I didn't conduct the whole time. So Mr. Kelly, shout out, our incredible student teacher. He led 2 of the charts. And then I have a student who's a senior. We can shout her out too. Kaylee Stockdale, the amazing one.
Shout out, United student.
She is going to major in music education.
Very good.
And so for her passion project, as part of one of her classes, she's just totally diving into jazz. So she's leading one of the charts. And it was so fun to facilitate those experiences. And then I realized, like, I love sitting in this ensemble just playing my tenor saxophone.
Yep.
And so I really like doing that too.
Yeah, any chance I can come play, I try to. Because I think it also solidifies, like, I know what I'm talking about when I can switch instruments. I just start playing random stuff. Oh my gosh. But, well, I know you're busy. I know you probably want to go home, especially just being out on Friday.
I would love to go home, but I'm gonna go see Mr. Kelly and Mr. Otto's
Oh, that's
wind
right.
ensemble
That's
concert.
right. They do have a
Their
concert
very
tonight.
last one
I
tonight.
would say I would go, but my wife is doing the half marathon. Shout out, Dr. Mrs. And I have to go home to the dogs. So I'm in charge. I'm in charge of the children in a way. But we will absolutely have you on again. Honestly, I think we should definitely have you on again as we maybe get closer to school years, so we can talk about ILMEA audition stuff. Like talk about that process, especially as the District 2 president. I think that's a really, really amazing position that you have. And actually, maybe before we wrap up, like, how did you end up getting into that position? Like, what were did you have previously small positions in the district, ILMEA district, before you became president?
Yeah, no position and volunteer leadership is small. We'll start there. So my first role that I served in was District 2 ILMEA jazz representative, and I just loved it because I could be helpful. And I joke, like, how people ask, like, how did you get to be president? I'm like, well, I'm good at returning emails. And
that definitely is a good resource.
So I think that, like, if I return this director's email quickly, then their kid's going to be able to practice the music, and then that'll facilitate an experience for them. So I genuinely like to be helpful, and I am pretty good at the administrative part of the gig, so I like that part of it. It's my last year, though, and I'm really looking forward to passing that on to somebody else, and she's amazing, and she has a different voice. She's not a band teacher, and we've had so many people in this role as band teachers, which is great, but it'll be nice for somebody else to look at the job with a different lens and be able to ask questions that I don't know. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I would be happy to talk all things ILMEA. We have so many more things than when I started. We have nomination festivals and more opportunities. I just went to a composition workshop at Bradley.
Yeah, I did. I saw you guys advertising for that. How was that?
It was awesome. The things that these junior high and high school students created in just a day, like soundtracks to movies, it was incredible.
Yeah, that was neat.
That I certainly don't know how to do. So I like that we're better serving students who maybe aren't performance focused, but are still very much musicians.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think, trying to have students recognize that, like, you don't have to be, like, the best player to be able to, like, write. You can still hear the parts in your head, and it's I think the hard part as a composer, any composer, is, like, try to put it on paper. For me, it's like I'll hear melodies and tunes and rhythmic ideas all the time, and, trying to find a way to put it in my phone, or like just write a sentence of, like, what I'm trying to look for, try to get next time I'm at my home computer where I write, trying to get that idea out is the hard part. But I think for these kids to just, like, understand that, like, they can be doing this now. They don't have to be we don't have to wait till they get be professionals. I mean, it's not like I had one semester of composition in college. That's it, and that was just to kind of like get me started, and that was with one person. Versus like now I'm asking current composers who write for the medium that I want to write in, and getting advice from them, but still just doing it on my own. You know, I have no formal training. But that doesn't mean I don't know my scales, and that doesn't mean I don't know my chords, and that doesn't mean and I think as a band teacher, you know, I really understand that doesn't work on clarinet because you
can tell those composers who like can't play them
Yep.
like all the lines on
Yep.
every instrument or don't
Yeah.
realize like, oh, if you write in the lower register for flute, it's beautiful, but it's not going to be heard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So again, once again, we apologize to anyone who've offended that listens to this podcast. But again, like if you are able to write for grade 0.5 or grade 1 and it sound good, you are already doing the Lord's work.
But some of my favorite composers,
Yeah.
like, because we've interviewed them at United, like Kate Nishimura, she was a band teacher.
yeah.
And Randall Standridge
Yep.
taught band, so like he understands and she understands.
And I think that's what draws me into their music too, is that like, you know, they did this for 10 years. I'm in year 7. Like, maybe in my 10th year I finally get it. You know, maybe that's where I'm supposed to be after all this, you know. I mean, I've always saw myself as, you know, like a teacher, but like, who's to say I couldn't teach through my music? You know, there's definitely a reason why I had this inspiration in the wintertime, and since then it's never left my mind. Like, you know, it's because sometimes we have these moments of like, January 1, I'm going to work out, you know, like you have these, but like this is something that like, when I have those moments to like not think about work, it gets me excited to write, you know. Of course, like most days I'm just too tired to do any of that. So when I do have inspiration at work, I write it on my phone and then I just save it. And then, you know, like I have a moment again, I can do it. But like anytime I can pump out like a percussion ensemble piece, I'll send it to, you know, Kevin Nichols at Western, shout out, just for him to kind of like read it. And actually speaking of education, this will be one last thing too, like the ILMEA lecture he did at IMEC this year, he got accepted at Midwest, so Willie and I are gonna go back up there and be a part of that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm really excited because again, I feel like for some, even like percussion, there's just so much to it. But he does it in such a pedagogical way that through music, we're going to teach how to use these instruments, and I think that's such a. Again, it seems ingenious, but it's like, this is how we should be approaching our kids' music all the time. You know, we don't have to be so formal about it. Like, if our kids need to know something, just find a unique way of teaching it, or showing it, displaying it, and then they catch on from there.
You know what my best percussion PD is? Almost every morning, I see my neighbor, Kyle Barshinger, shout out, walking his dog, and as I'm like walking to my car, I'll be like, hey, what is the proper way to play whatever percussion instrument? Or I'm like, what brand of bongos do I want to buy? And so we'll chat, and then I feel infinitely more like equipped.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you very much to my smarter colleagues. I am grateful to know you.
Yeah, it's so funny because like Lisa will ask me percussion questions. Like, hey, look, I played percussion as in like it wasn't my main instrument, but I had enough experience. Again, thank you to Dr. Kevin Nichols for that, helping with that. But I ask him questions all the time, you know. But I think as teachers, like we never stop becoming students. Mm-hmm. We're always students.
And I would never want to. That's one of my favorite parts of the job. Like I learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And if I didn't, like, what would be the point of this?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, Madeline, thank you so much. We're absolutely going to have you on again. We appreciate your time tonight. Before we wrap this up, thank you, Kidder, for being our sponsor. If you have any sort of music needs, whether it be sheet music or reeds or valve oil or this or that, they are at your service 24/7, somewhat, within business hours.
And they do these amazing giveaways for educators.
Oh, yeah,
too.
yeah,
right now,
yeah.
I think it's like a soprano saxophone. So
Absolutely.
Kidder is their.
Yep.
Great.
Find them on Facebook, Kidder Music Service. Beth does a great job over there. Shout out Beth. And the entire team over there. They honestly really help make our programs the way that they are. So we're very, very thankful for everything they do and being a sponsor of Music the Making. So, being a fan, you know how we have to end this, right?
Oh my gosh!
Would you do the honors?
Are you ready?
Ready? Here we are.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.